Government continues to say it's found no verified evidence of extraterrestrial technology. So is this real transparency? Is it distraction from everything else that's happening in Washington? Is this the greatest movie marketing campaign of all time? I want to bring in our all-star UFO panel to break it down. Avi Loeb, astrophysicist, Harvard professor, one of the world's leading voices on the scientific search for extraterrestrial life. Jordan Flowers, the executive director of the Disclosure Foundation, an organization advocating for greater government transparency on UAPs. And Sarah Gam is a former intelligence analyst with a background in physics, who is part of the Department of Defense's UAP task force. Great to have you all here. Sarah, I just mentioned it. You were an analyst there. How do the files, how do what we saw today compare to what you've seen? I mean, are we getting the whole picture?
No, definitely not yet. The whole picture is far from being released, but I think it's a good progress on chipping away a little bit more.
Okay, but just let me follow up on that. What do you make of this? I mean, the idea that you're seeing the orbs, and Avi, I'm gonna come to you also, but you see the orbs, and then these reports of GPS disruption and the gamma radiation. How should we be thinking about that?
I think it's amazing what has been released, and that is also what we've been hearing for a long time now.
Right.
I know on the task force days there was a lot of reports of power outages at places, at military bases, and elsewhere across the world. So none of this is a surprise to me, and I will remain hopeful that we will get more and more data.
Avi, this is a big day for you. Not only the release, you also saw Disclosure Day. It's almost like your birthday, but you got to tell me, you're looking at these objects, the orbs. I don't know what to make of it. Do you have an answer?
Well, I must say, I just saw indeed the movie that Steven Spielberg made up out of his artistic taste and imagination. But reality is far more imaginative than scriptwriters in Hollywood. And what we read in the release today is quite intriguing. And my main concern, frankly, is that perhaps we're dealing with very sophisticated Chinese drones that are being deposited throughout the US, and we just don't recognize that. And I think that should be a very serious concern within the intelligence agencies.
But Avi, what makes you say that? What's about the way they're moving and separating? Why do you think it could be a Chinese drone?
Well, we are looking at orbs, and the simplest interpretation is that there might be drones that are, for example, releasing baby drones out of them, smaller ones. I'm not sure how feasible that is. Now, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, led by John Kozlowski, looked into the report from 2023, and in fact, analyzed it in great detail, and he wrote a full memo about it in this release from a week ago, from the 5th of June. And he says that 40% of the phenomena cannot be explained based on what they know, based on technologies the US possesses, and the technologies that foreign adversaries possess. So I must say it's very puzzling. The best way forward would be to get more data and figure it out. I mean, it's like a detective story.
Right, it definitely is. Jordan, this is the part that I took away from the whole day. The FBI reaction, right? It's not just accounts of, hey, we heard these reports, interesting. You got FBI agents saying, are you seeing this? Their own, and that goes to the larger part where people who believe that this is a cover-up, people who believe that the government knows exactly what it is. If the FBI seemingly doesn't know what this is, what do you make of that?
That's exactly right. The FBI, and this is important for your audience to understand as well, not only are senior members of Congress taking this issue extremely seriously, the FBI is actively investigating several different aspects of this phenomena, from potential criminal activity involved in treatment of whistleblowers to the incursions against our sensitive military airspace. So the FBI is involved, and I have been told on Capitol Hill that the briefing that the FBI has been providing to members of Congress about this topic has been, quote, the hottest ticket in town, and more members have been receiving that, and I think that's one of the reasons why this topic has escalated rapidly from maybe a top 10 issue to truly a top 3 issue in this administration.
Jordan, just to stay with you for a second, how does this fit into the disclosures we've seen so far? And I think I'm just going to keep using the word disclosure because I like it, and also it's Disclosure Day. But how does this fit into the overall disclosures, the file dumps that we've seen? And I got to tell you, I'm actually impressed by the level of transparency by what we're seeing in these documents and these videos. But where do you see it?
I'm impressed too. It's a step in the right direction. With some of our prior conversations, we have talked about how there wasn't analysis that came along with some of these releases. Dr. Loeb made a great point about there was a memo included in this release from Dr. Kozlowski, the director of AARO, that actually provided analysis. So that feedback is being heard and apparently satisfied. Dr. Loeb issued a write-up, which I thought was great, from his website. And then we have the members of Congress having a press conference today that you showed pictures from. I was at that press conference. I was standing behind David Grush and Representatives Burchett and Luna. And I tell you what, they are absolutely pushing for greater transparency. And as Sarah said, we haven't seen the last of it. There is significantly more data to be released. And a lot of things that could be released are things that the task force worked on.
Sarah, let me go back to you for a second. How well does the government run? How much are they investigating this? I talk about the files being obtained from CIA, FBI, DOD. What do you think is going on behind the scenes in terms of an investigation to find out what this is?
Yeah, I can validate for certainty that there's a lot of research that goes on behind the scenes. So when I was on the task force, we would do anything and everything. We would reach out to the drone operators, like if it was an MQ-9, to get what the emotions were like there whenever they first saw it, how hard it was to reacquire, investigate weather data. I mean, you name it. We would research bird migration patterns over whatever spot it was in the world. So there is a lot of research that does go on behind the scenes. And I know a lot of people don't always agree with how AARO operates, but I can say that there's some really good analysts that are working under AARO right now, and they are doing, I'd say, be above and beyond what the task force did, because that's their full-time job. Like when I was on the task force, I supported it from NGA, so I wasn't on the official senior level panel, but there was it was volunteer basis. So these people are, that this is their full-time job, and so they take it very seriously. And I give them kudos for what they're still doing now for the research that goes on.
Avi, you get the final word. We have about 45 seconds. What do you make of that Starbase audio?
Oh, I think we can pretty much ignore that because it was a side comment that is not indicative of something real. We actually, Artemis 2 flew over the far side of the moon, and there wasn't anything unusual over there. So I think most importantly, if you are down to earth in your thinking and you're trying to be as realistic as possible, and that's what the intelligence agencies are supposed to do, you have to be intrigued by this because you're not doing your job. There are objects over sensitive sites within the U.S. that are potential threats to national security. We have to figure it out. There needs to be more funds allocated to the research. And, at the end of the day, if it's human-made, we have to protect the U.S. against that.
And I hope it's the proper funding. But look, with the more interest in this, that's probably what you might see. Avi Loeb, Jordan Flower, Sarah Gam, thank you so much for coming on. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.